Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome. I'm Allison Gibson, Communications Specialist for Maddie's Fund, and we're really happy to have so many of you here tonight. Tonight's webcast, Social Media for Pet Adoption and Adoption Events, is being presented by longtime Maddie's Fund consultant Christy Keith. Christy's the social media manager for the Shelter Pet Project, and that's the first public service campaign to promote an animal welfare cause in the 60-year history of the Ad Council. Now, Christy also consults on social media and communications for a number of veterinary and animal welfare organizations, and also for prominent experts in the field like Dr. Marty Becker. He's the veterinarian on the Dr. Oz Show and on Good Morning America. And we'll be starting in just a few minutes, but before we do, here are some important housekeeping items. First, 10 of you who are attending tonight will be the lucky winners in a door prize drawing. The prize is a set of Maddie's Fund Adopt Me vests, one each in size small, medium, and large. Now next, please take a look at the left-hand side of your screen. There you will see a Q&A window. That's where you can ask questions during the presentation. And Christy will answer as many as she can at the end of the presentation, but please don't hold your questions until then. Feel free to ask them during the event. Questions actually asked in the last few minutes probably won't be processed in enough time for a response, so get yours in as soon as you can. And at the bottom of your screen are various icons. If you need any help with your connection during the webcast, click the question mark icon at the bottom of the page. Or you can go to event.on24.com/view/help. That's event.on24.com/view/help. And the other little images at the bottom of the screen along with the help button are widgets. Those will take you to resources that our presenter and Maddie's Institute wanted to share with you tonight. Please be sure to check them out. Lots of good information there. Now, before I turn the mic over to Christy, I want to say a few words about Maddie's Fund. It's the leading funder of shelter medicine education in the United States, and our goal is to save the lives of all of our nation's healthy and treatable shelter dogs and cats. Our inspiration for that goal came from the unconditional love of a little dog named Maddie. Her example led Dave and Cheryl Duffield to promise her that they would honor that love by founding Maddie's Fund and assist in making this country a safe and loving place for all of her kind. And it's our hope that you too will be inspired by Maddie to take what you learn here tonight and make that promise come true. Well, Christy, thank you for being here this evening.
Thank you so much, Allison, and thank you to Maddie's Fund for sponsoring this webcast, and thank you to everyone who took time out of your evening to be here with us tonight. And a special big welcome to everyone who's going to be involved in the Maddie's Adopt-a-thon in June, which is taking place in Alameda, Contra Costa, and San Francisco counties in California. And everyone from all over the country, welcome, and I'm really glad you were able to be here. I've been involved with social media and with pet adoption for many, many years, and I'm really, I think that they are two things that go very well together, so I'm very happy to be able to talk to you a little bit tonight about how you can get the most out of social media. What I'm not going to be talking about is the absolute basics, such as how you can get started. In other words, literally creating a Facebook account for your organization or a Twitter account for your organization. That information is in a presentation that we mailed out a link to, and it's also included in the little green resources link down at the bottom of your screen. If you have questions that are about how to create these accounts, I'm not going to be covering that tonight, but you can look at the other presentation, and it will walk you through signing up for a Facebook page for your organization and walk you through creating a Twitter account for your organization, page by page with explicit step-by-step instructions. The reason I'm leaving this out is because 2 or 3 years ago when I would speak to groups of animal welfare advocates, and I would ask how many of them were using social media, there would be perhaps a minority, half, a little over half, last year I spoke at a Maddie's Fund seminar and in Orlando, and I asked the audience, and every single solitary person in the room was at least using Facebook for their personal social activity. So social media has become so common that I don't want to take time to be that basic. I want to try and help you understand how you can maximize the time you spend, the resources of your organization that you spend on social media. It's usually not money. It's usually time, and I know how precious time is to all of us. So my feeling about pet adoption and social media is that they're made for each other. And there's a couple reasons why I believe that. One of them is I think you've all heard the joke that the Internet exists to share cat videos. And the fact is that cute animal pictures are one of the most popular and widely shared things on the Internet and in social media. People love looking at pictures of cute animals, which is a fantastic opportunity for us in animal welfare to remind them that we have the thing that every nonprofit organization, every retail brand wishes they had, which is an endless supply of the most appealing, endearing, adorable living creatures and their very compelling stories to power our message. We have that. Nobody else has that except us. And we need to remember that we have that power and to use it, and use it to spread the message that pets, I'm sorry, I got a little ahead of myself there. I'm going to back up and just say the other reason that I'm sorry, Allison, I'm not able to move the slide. Can you push the next slide for me?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
See. Let's try this from this end. We have made for each other, and then with a little kitty cat.
Yes,
we want a kitty cat. See?
I do, and it will not appear for me. Is it up?
All right. Well, yes, it's up, and if you'd like me to press next for the next ones, just give me the cue.
Okay, I'll let you know. I have no idea why this happened. Oh, there it is. Anyway, I apologize for the little technical glitch. The other thing that is so powerful on the Internet is something that I call the power of social storytelling. And there are two kinds of social storytelling that essentially drive social media. One of them is the stories that we share. In other words, people love to share news stories that they've read, little stories about their personal lives and their families. They love to share the stories of pets, whether they're funny, heartwarming, sad. People like to share stories. But the other reason is that people are telling a story about themselves. When people share things on social networks, whether it's Facebook, Twitter, Google+, Pinterest, or any other social network that they participate in, they are creating a collage of their own identity that they are sharing with the people in their social network, in their circle, with their family, their friends, and even with strangers. They're building a story about who they are, what they care about, what matters to them. And that is the reason that we, as a cause, the cause of pet adoption, have a lot of power because people want to be associated with our story because it fits in with the story that they believe about themselves and that they want people to see about themselves, which is that they're the kind of person who believes in rescuing animals and loves animals. Those are our potential adopters. Those are our supporters, volunteers, donors. Those are the people that we're trying to reach and touch through social media, and they want what we have to be a part of the story they tell about themselves to the world. And that's a very, very important consideration when you're designing your messages and why your messages need to be positive and they need to be engaging and they need to be appealing to people. So, Allison, could you give me the next slide?
You should be able to see it now, everybody.
The other great tool that we have, Maddie's Fund talks a lot about treatable pets, which is pets who have what we might think of as medical or behavior issues that need a little bit of work or treatment of some kind. And Treatable Pets are social media superstars. And you will find that, Allison, I'm sorry, I need one more slide.
There you go. We have some stats and a couple of
Yeah, these are two examples of pets that are very recent pets. One of them is Oscar, the blind kitten. Oscar has his own YouTube channel, and his adoptive family has been posting little videos of him in his life as he grows up, and this is the first time. They had just brought him home this night and put him down. I believe this is their kitchen, and this was the video of the first time Oscar, the blind kitten, ever saw toys or ever played with toys, and these toys had little bells in them. This video, as of the other day, had 3,192,449 views. Next to it is a more recent video that perhaps a lot of you saw. It's a story of Fiona, a blind stray dog who was found by a rescue group lying on a pile of garbage. And it's a little recap of her story, how they rescued her, cleaned her up, got her medical care, including surgery, and how she was eventually adopted. That video has had 810,556 views. Both of these animals have gone completely viral. They are being shared on Facebook, Twitter, everywhere, on YouTube itself, everywhere they can possibly be shared. These are what we would consider treatable pets, and they are without question social media superstars. If you move to the next slide, Allison, thanks, what you'll see is that a little bit of statistics for you, and this is something that I think is really important to understand, is that we often think to ourselves that we don't have the power to push a story viral that way, but we do. And the reason is because researchers found that most posts that go viral are not being shared by huge influencers like Lady Gaga, who has, more Twitter followers than anyone else, right? They're being shared by regular people to extremely small personal networks. On Twitter, it's one person is sharing to 5 other people, and on Facebook, one person is sharing to 9 other people. These are for posts that have more than 1 million views. This is how they got there. So you don't have to worry that you are dealing with individual people, your volunteer base, the people who support your organization, that you don't have a follower base that can push the story of one of your pets viral. You do, because viral posts are made viral by small circles of sharing that simply continue spreading out. The power of the pet, of his or her picture, his or her story, that is what makes posts go viral, not the power of somebody who gets behind their story and tries to push it out. So this is definitely something that you can do. If you can go to the next slide, Allison.
Well, it looks like we have a poll question coming up.
Thank you.
And let's take a little break. We want to get some feedback from our audience. Who would be the best person to have share your message on Facebook or Twitter? This is a question for our audience or participants. Lady Gaga, Justin Bieber, or your volunteer coordinator's sister-in-law's hairdresser? And we look forward to everybody giving your comments on that. You can either press Lady Gaga, Justin Bieber, or the hairdresser. In fact, maybe my hairdresser does Lady Gaga's hair. I don't know, Chrissy, how many followers does Lady Gaga actually have?
I looked it up just before tonight, and it was right now she's at 22,681,040.
Oh,
she is she is actually ahead of the number 2, who's Justin Bieber, by over 2 million. He only clocks in at 20,003,773. So she's definitely the queen of Twitter, and she's got a huge Facebook following as well, although I didn't look that up.
Yeah, I think Justin Bieber's at, 25 million, something like that?
On Twitter, 20 million.
20
On
million.
Facebook,
Okay.
I don't know.
Oh, yeah, 25 I read. We have some results, and I think about half of you have responded. Let me just show some of these results. Wow, we love the hairdresser. as everybody can see here, we got about 9.8% of you would have Lady Gaga, or 3.5 Justin Bieber, and the hairdresser is getting a whopping 86.5%. Now
I do want to say that if I had the opportunity to get Lady Gaga or Justin Bieber to retweet one of my messages about pet adoption, I would be all over it because, of course, all their followers have small social networks that they can share to, too. So please, if you have a huge celebrity with a gigantic social media following who wants to support your organization, I am not discouraging that, but definitely don't underestimate the power of small social networks and connections to push your message through. Okay, Allison, let's go on.
All righty. Let's see. We have people 3 times more likely to go to a shelter or rescue group if they know a friend or family. That's exactly what you were just talking about, right?
Yeah, definitely. And what I wanted to talk about here a little bit is why we should be sharing our message over social media. You know, the Ad Council did a lot of research and focus groups and interviews of prospective adopters and actually just people who were looking to get a pet. They weren't always thinking about adoption, and trying to understand what motivates them to adopt a pet. And what they found out is that people are 3 times more likely to go to a shelter rescue group if they know someone who has, if they talk to someone who has. So it's really important that we use social media to talk about pet adoption, not just to ask people to adopt, but simply to let them know that we've adopted, to ask our followers to talk about their adopted pets. This is one of the reasons the Shelter Pet Project every year has a day when shelter pets take over Facebook, and all we ask people to do is talk about their adopted pets on their own personal Facebook pages. It's fine, you know, they don't need to do anything on ours, although lots of people do, which is great, but just remember to always talk about it. And if you go to the dog park or you're in the vet's office and you're talking to someone about your adopted pet, there's a limited reach to that, but on social media, these things, they have wings. You know, one person will tell one person, you'll have a great story, a great picture of a pet, and it will get shared very, very widely. So, Allison, if you can go to the next screen.
Well, pet adoption messages go wrong. Oh, boy. I've been there. I'm sure we all have.
First, we look at these cute dogs and cats. Okay, I'm going to talk a little bit now about how we make mistakes in social media, and I know that most of us, when we get it wrong, it's because we're too close to our subject. We think everyone we're talking to is like us. We have a lot of reasons why we choose to do the things we do, but I want to lay out a different scenario for you. If you go to the next slide, I'm going to give you a little bit of data that the Ad Council developed along with Draft FCB, which is the advertising agency that has created the Shelter Pet Project's public service ads. And what we found out is that every year 23.5 million people get a new dog or cat and who joins their family. 1.5 million of the people who are planning on doing that in the next year have already definitely decided that they're getting their pet from a breeder. 5 million have firmly decided that they're going to be getting their pet from a shelter or rescue group. 17 million haven't made up their minds, okay, but they are open. Adoption is something they're considering as opposed to any other way of getting a new pet. So if you look at this, we have somewhere between 3 and 4 million pets in the United States who are dying in our shelters because they don't have a home, and 17 million people who are willing to consider shelter pet adoption but haven't made up their minds yet. It is important that we understand that when we are putting our social media messages out, that our messages are being seen by these undecided people. Allison, can I have the next slide? In the next slide, what you can take a look at is a cute puppy. And the number one reason that people don't adopt, based on Ad Council data, is the worry that homeless pets are damaged goods, that they have too much baggage, that they have behavior problems, that there's something wrong with them. Allison, go to the next slide. And what you have to understand is that people who are adopting a pet, who are bringing a new pet into their family, want this to be a happy and joyful experience. And I made this fake pie chart. It's one of my favorite things that I ever made, which is showing you the number of people who want to adopt a pet with post-traumatic stress disorder versus the number of people who want a well-adjusted companion to sleep on their kids' beds. And this is where I want to talk to you about those 17 million people. There's a saying that if you keep doing what you've always done, you'll get what you've always gotten. And what we've gotten is 3.5, 4 million animals dying in our shelters every year. In order to appeal to adopters beyond the 5 million of us who are always going to adopt, we have to start tailoring our messages to people who are outside of that 5 million, the 17 million people who have a different mindset, who are looking for things that are different from what perhaps have motivated us, what motivate our fellow members of the rescue community, what motivate the people who are always going to adopt no matter what. So we have a great deal to think about when we're putting these messages together. And I'm just going to come right out and tell you what I'm talking about is sad, depressing messages accompanied by upsetting, ugly pictures, pictures that upset people and make them sad, that reinforce negative stereotypes that shelter pets are damaged or have baggage or have traumatic pasts that are going to haunt them forever. People want happiness. And every one of us who's ever adopted a pet knows that those pets, even when they do come with baggage, also come with an enormous payload of joy that they bring to us. That is what we are selling. And I'm sorry if using the language of retail offends you, but the truth is that persuasive speech, social media, messages that we craft, this is about marketing. And what we're trying to do is get inside people's heads, assuage their fears, reinforce the things that make them happy, and let them understand that bringing a pet into their homes from a shelter or a rescue group is something that's going to make them happy and bring joy to them. And we don't have the luxury of sitting there and thinking to ourselves, well, this is what I would respond to. This is what we've always done. This is what works when we're trying to get people to make donations, or this is how we have always spread the message, is by using, this terrible, sad image of abused animals or animals in cages or animals who are thin and staring at you with their big sad eyes. The Ad Council found that, yes, indeed, these images motivate people to donate to causes, but they do not motivate them to adopt pets. So I know that there's been I have always gotten a great deal of resistance when I try to tell this to people, because they are very attached to trying to accomplish a lot of things with their adoption messages, including getting people to understand the desperate need to save animal lives by hitting them over the head with language and imagery about animals dying and animals in danger of death. So I'd like to take a little step away and go to something kind of cheerful. Allison, to the next slide. This was a very interesting. Right. This was a very interesting little experiment done by a blogger and animal advocate in New York named John Sibley. And he saw a post on a Facebook page that was this image, which is George Clooney, and it says, "A rescue dog is good enough for him. Why isn't a rescue dog good enough for you? Dogs and cats are not status symbols." So we have a cute picture of George Clooney, who's very popular, and then we have a slightly negative message. But this isn't like a horrific message. It's just a little bit of a guilt trip. This was shown, this was posted on a page that has almost 5,000 fans. It received 162 likes and 87 shares. So go to the next slide. John made this image himself, which is from an interview George Clooney did about his adopted dog, which he adopted from a rescue group. Found his best friend at his local shelter, and it just shows him kicking back with a beer and his dog in his lap, looking handsome. This he posted to his own personal Facebook profile. Between the number of his friends and the people who subscribed to his public posts, there was 944. So a fraction, a fifth of the other page, right? But he got 889 likes on that post, and almost 400 people shared it. So this is a pretty compelling argument that people are much more inclined to respond positively to positive messages. And I think it's something when we craft our messages, whether we're talking about an adoption appeal or anything else, to remember that the human psyche is much more motivated to take action, liking, sharing, adopting, when you appeal to them with positive messages. And that's something that I'd really like to see everyone take away from here tonight, and think hard about when you're sharing messages about adoption. And I'm not going to go any more into the social media mistakes. Allison, if you want to jump to the next slide.
Well, I think what we want to do maybe is just get a little poll
I'm sorry,
from the audience.
because I can't see the slides, I can't see the polls anymore, but thank you very much for reminding me.
No, we wanted to get some feedback from the audience on just what you were talking about. Let me get this slide up. For those of you out there, despite the numbers in the example, do you still believe the first more negative ad would be more effective than the second most positive one? And you can only pick just one. You can either pick yes, the first ad would probably be more effective. That was the slightly negative ad. No, the second ad would probably be more effective. Or you can choose any ad with George Clooney in it. It's fine with me. I read somewhere that George Clooney, when he went to adopt a dog, that he rubbed his shoes with meat before the rescue group brought the dog out to meet him. He was so nervous the dog wouldn't like him enough.
Yeah, that was in the same article that John Sibley got the second picture from. Apparently he called the rescue group to meet the dog, and this rescue group brought the dogs out to people's homes, and they told George that despite the fact that he's a wildly popular superstar, that unless the dog liked him, he wasn't going to be able to adopt him. So at the last minute, just when they were getting there, he rubbed meat on his shoes. And I just thought, wow, if even George Clooney can be made, insecure by a dog, that's powerful stuff, man.
Well, let's see how our audience responded here. 2.2%.
Oh, poor George.
Said that the first ad would be more effective, but a whopping 82.7% agreed that the second ad would be more effective. And I'm kind of with the third group here. That's 14.9%. George Clooney attracts eyeballs, let's face it. Well, let's continue on with
in the next slide is just the name of the presentation that I did for Maddie's Fund that is on our website. It's in your resources link down there at the bottom, the little green one that looks like a file folder, and it's also on our website on the page for this presentation, and it will be emailed out to you as well. It's called Avoiding the 3 Biggest Social Media Mistakes. So you can review some of the other things that can go wrong there, and hopefully if you have any questions about that, you can contact me with follow-up to that. But I'm going to move away from this subject now, and I'm going to talk to you about 4 of the biggest social media networks that I think shelters and rescue groups should be involved in. Those are Facebook and Twitter, a new one, which is now the 3rd most popular social media network in the world and the fastest growing in history, Pinterest, and YouTube, which I'm pretty sure everybody's familiar with. I want to talk to you a little bit about Facebook. If there is any one network that you're going to be on, Allison, you can go to the next slide, it should be Facebook. It is the most popular social network by, a factor of I don't even know how much. And, the reason is, as I say here, why do you have to be on Facebook? It's where the people are. It is, if it were a country, it would be the third largest country in the world. Your shelter or rescue group needs to be on Facebook. There's absolutely no two ways about it. That is where you will reach the most people. That is where you will get the greatest payoff from your investment of time. It isn't that the other networks don't have something to offer us, but if you're trying to figure out where to devote your resources, Facebook is where you want to do it. Can you go to the next slide, Allison?
Yep.
I'll tell you truthfully that for a control freak like myself, not being able to advance my own slides is really terrible. But Facebook has a lot of advantages for people for sharing, but it also has some pitfalls, and I know that I kind of promised I wasn't going to just go through mistakes, but apparently, I lied. I'm going to talk about a little bit of the things, a few of the things that I have noticed specifically shelters and rescue groups getting wrong here, and then I'm going to talk about some best practices where you can maximize your effectiveness on Facebook. And this is perhaps some of you I know are already doing a lot on social media. I'm hoping that there will be some things in this section that will actually be useful even to those of you who are advanced users. One of the most common Facebook mistakes that I see specifically in shelters and rescue groups and people in animal welfare, Allison, go ahead and go to the next slide, is that they mix their messages. And by this I mean that if you are looking to find a home for a pet, your message is adopt this pet. Your message is not looking for a rescue to pull them from the shelter. Your message is not pointing out how horrible the local animal control is and why it needs reform. Your message is not explaining all the steps that you are going to take to screen homes or trying to pre-screen them with warnings and, cautions about, you have to have a fence and you have to, whatever your rules are. And it's also not educating people about how to be a better and more responsible pet owner or how to talk about pet ownership or anything else. You have to pick one message to use in your social media sharing. Now, on your Facebook page, you can do all of these things. I'm just saying do them one at a time. Pet adoption messages should stand alone, and they should be about the pet. They should feature if you're sharing on Facebook, they should feature a really great picture that will inspire people to click on it and will make people want to share it. And it should be a story about the pet that talks about that pet's personality. If you do choose to share anything that is sad, you need to make sure that its end result is that it inspires your audience, not puts them into the fetal position in their bed, sucking their thumb and paralyzed, because that is simply going to reinforce their negative stereotype about shelter pets. And even if they don't have a negative stereotype about shelter pets, even if in fact that message might be really good on your primary audience who's actually following your Facebook page, going back to the whole issue of how posts are spread through social media, you have absolutely no control over who is going to see that message down the road. And those sad stories that you are posting that are not inspiring but instead paralyzing are being shared widely throughout social media, and they are poisoning the well of adopters, not just for that pet but for all shelter pets, by getting into the heads of the people who are worried that shelter pets are damaged, that they have suffered trauma that's going to make the adoption experience negative instead of positive, sad instead of happy. You have to think very, very carefully about, sorry, and that was just a little point of emphasis from my greyhound Val, who I swore would not bark during this presentation, and yet she just did. I really can't stress this enough, and in fact, if you did nothing else tonight except remember that your adoption messages should just be about adoption and just be about that pet, so that when you post about these pets on Facebook, if you create a Facebook page for the pet, if it's just a single post with a picture, a good picture of the pet and a positive message, and if you do include something sad, because a lot of pets do have sad stories, and those sad stories do appeal to people's desire to help them, make sure that the end result is an inspirational one, that it makes people want to hit share, want to give you money, want to help that pet. I can't tell you how many times I have donated money to help a pet in another part of the country because I've seen a great post about them on Facebook. And yet when I see posts come across my feed, and I'm not alone in this, that are just such downers, where the image is horrible and the pet looks miserable and the story makes you regret ever having been born, I hide those people from my Facebook feed. I just go in and say, just don't show me any more from this person because I can't take it. It does not inspire me to act at all, and I'm not the only person who feels this way. And the farther you get from your core group of rescuers and shelter supporters, the more true that is, not the less true. So really, really focus when you're doing pet adoption messages or promoting an adoption event, focus on things that are positive. Thanks, Allison. You can go to the next slide now. So the second thing that people do, and this is where I'm hoping that there'll be some really great information that will help even those of you who are doing a great job with your social media already. A lot of people on Facebook don't use the available information to understand what works for them. And here's an interesting thing that I want to share with you. There have been a lot of studies done about when to post and what to post and how much to post, how frequently to post, to get the most response from your Facebook audience. And the rule of thumb that they have found in this research is that the best times to post are before work and after dinner, so about 7 in the morning, 8 at night, on Sundays, that you should not post, we're talking about pages, not your own personal activity with your friends. We're talking about organizations, companies, whatever, on a Facebook page. That even once or twice a day is too much, that people really only want to hear from Facebook pages about 3 to 5 times a week maximum. And I'm going to say that that's all a fine place to start. But in my experience, and I don't really have data to back this up, but I have a lot of clients who are in the animal world, whether they're veterinarians or animal welfare organizations, shelters, rescue groups. And our audiences are much more willing to hear from us. In general, nonprofits, people are more willing to hear from nonprofits. But when those are animal-related nonprofits, people's tolerance for hearing from you is very, very much greater than that. So you don't have to guess, though. You can absolutely I apologize, Allison. Can you go to the next slide, please?
Oh, yeah. No, I'm here and I'm awake.
What I've put up here is the picture of, this is actually the Shelter Pet Project's Facebook page. And if you are an administrator of a Facebook page, this is the new timeline layout that everybody's been moved to now. And there's information on using the timeline in the other presentation that's available to you on getting started if people haven't gotten used to this yet. In the other upper right-hand corner, there's a little button that says, I think, Admin Panel. I can't see it because I can't see the slides anymore, and it's a little small on what I'm reading from.
Yes.
You click on that, and Allison, go to the next page, please. You click on that, and you'll see an expanded series of information about your page, and you can see where the yellow arrow is pointing. It says the word Insights, and next to that, I think it says something like View All. Allison, could you click to the next slide?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, these are, I think this is also the Shelter Pet Project, I'm not sure, the Shelter Pet Project Insights. And what you're looking at here is the basic information about your posts. There's a lot more information in the Insights, and I hope that you will take some time to really dig into what's available and what you can learn from it. But I'm just going to start with this because this is very basic. What it does is it shows you various posts, how they've performed, and if you'll just give me a second, I really apologize that I don't know why I can't see the slides, but I'm opening up my actual slides so that I can see it and look at it and talk to you about it. 1 second.
Well, I noticed that people can get overwhelmed with a lot of data that Facebook.
Yes, so that's why we're going to just stay here with this very simple bit of data, which shows us, simple things, date, the name of the post. And then it talks about reach, engaged users, talking about this, and virality. Reach shows you the actual number of people who looked at your post, okay? Engaged users is people who liked it or commented on it or shared it. Talking about this is a somewhat mysterious metric that Facebook invented that I always laugh and define to my clients as how many people did things that Facebook gets a lot of benefit out of. I'm not really sold on this metric personally, but the next one, virality, represents what percentage, like how well this performed in being spread beyond your circles, beyond just the people who follow you. So you want your virality number to be as high as possible, and when you click on each of these sections, when you're in the Insights area, it will sort by that metric, whatever it is, whether it's date, reach, engagement, talking about this, or virality. By looking at this, you can see which of your posts performed the best. It's very, very simple, okay? The most engaged users, the most virality, the biggest reach. This will tell you, reach will tell you when to post because it's telling you when your posts are being seen by the most people. Engaged users will tell you how engaging that post was, and this is very important. I'm going to talk in actually very shortly why this is an extremely important number, even though you are not a brand selling a product, why you have to care about how many engaged users you have, and how viral your post was, which may or may not be crucial to you. It's just an interesting metric that you may want to know more about. So, Allison, can you jump ahead?
Well, we actually are going to take a little poll again from the audience, and I'd like to see what people think about whether they've ever cross-posted an adoption or rescue plea to someone else's Facebook page or pages. Yes, no, or you're not sure. And if you're not sure, I guess that's why we're here tonight. Chrissy, you do a lot of the Shelter Pet Project Facebook page. You do all of the management for that, and for Maddie's fund, Shelter Pet Project has close to 57,000 fans or likes. Do you see a lot of cross postings on Facebook?
Yes, absolutely. There's a large number of people who part of their adoption promotion efforts involve going around to other pet-related Facebook pages on Facebook and posting to their timelines, what used to be called their walls, about pets that they are trying to find homes for. There's a lot of problems with that. I think that I'm going to get into that really in the next slide. There's a lot of reasons why that's not always the greatest idea in the world. So I want to get an idea of how many people in our audience are doing it.
Well, let's just take a look here. We've got the latest results, and wow, 63.7% of you said yes, 30.6% said no, 5.6% aren't sure. So, yeah, you can see how big a platform it is.
Well, jump ahead to the next.
Yeah. There we go. Why does Facebook hate us?
Well, this statistic really is shocking to a lot of people, and it's a very recent statistic. If you look at that, it's from TechCrunch.com, and it was done at the end of February of this year. So this is fresh news. Only 16% of the posts that you make to your page are seen by your followers. 84% of your followers never see your post, not just because they don't look at their page, although that is at their feed, but because Facebook is actually hiding it. It is not putting it out on their feed. That number is actually worse for your personal stuff. Only 12% of the posts made to personal profiles are shown to the people who are friends of that person. But when it's the page, it's only 16%. And there are an awful lot of factors that contribute to why your posts are not being seen by your followers and the things that you can do to make them seen by more people. And this is where that engagement comes in. Facebook uses a metric, or rather a measurement tool called EdgeRank to determine how relevant what you're posting is to your followers. It's completely automated. No human being is looking at it and saying that the things you're posting are valuable or not valuable or boring or stupid. They're just looking at engagement. They want to know, are the people who are looking at the stuff you post commenting, liking, and sharing? That's what they want to know. And also tagging you. For example, if they make a post and say, you know, I volunteered today at the XYZ animal shelter, do they tag you using Facebook's tagging system? And this also comes into play for individuals who are cross-posting to other Facebook pages. And I know there's been a lot of drama going around talking about whether or not people are being, let's see, if animal rescuers are being banned from Facebook or blocked from posting on Facebook. And this is all happening automatically, and it's because of what Facebook deems suspicious or irrelevant activity. And one of those things is a single individual person posting the same message to many, many different pages. Not only does Facebook ding that account for that, but most of those messages are being hidden from the timelines of the pages that you are visiting. I would say that probably 60 to 70% of the people who post adoption messages on the Shelter Pet Project Facebook page, they're hidden. And I do go through and unhide them because we actually welcome people posting on our page. But you need to realize that if you're dedicating a lot of time and resources to cross-posting, you also can't tell because you will continue to be able to see the message yourself, even though it's hidden from everybody else. So really think hard about the things that you can do to maximize the value of your posting time. When it's on your own page, please go in, look at your insights, notice when the posts with the greatest engagement are, notice what works for your organization, what time of day, how frequently you post. Do your numbers start to drop if you post more than 2 or 3 times a day or a week? And ignore what works for most brands or most pages. Do what works for your page. When you're on Facebook, if you find that your people want you to post at 3 in the afternoon, post at 3 in the afternoon. But really look at the data, because otherwise you're really wasting your time because people aren't going to see what you post. And you can drive that number up. I think the Shelter Pet Project, about 30% of our posts are being seen, so double what's happening on Facebook overall. Okay, I also want, Allison, if you can go to the next, I want to introduce you to a fantastic new tool that our friends at Pet Finder came up with. It's their Facebook app that scrolls your Pet Finder available pets on a tab on Facebook. This is extremely cool and a lot of fun, and it gives you the opportunity to share your pets through social media without really doing anything else. Once you load it in, they're there, and you should take the opportunity during the week to share that link. And the fun thing is that you can share it off Facebook too. You can share this link onto Twitter and drive people to come to that tab and look at all your available pets and just see them scrolling by. And this is a lot of fun, and the information on how to install it with step-by-step instructions is in the resource widget and will be on the Maddie's Fund website after this presentation as well. So I really encourage you to check out this tool and add it to your Facebook page. And believe me, Pet Finder could not have made installing this any easier. They have a video that walks you through it in such detail. I mean, anyone could do it, I promise. So Allison, can we jump ahead? Now we're going to talk about Twitter. One of the things I love about Twitter is that it's very simple. It's simple to set up, it's simple to use, and it is fast. However, it's not as useful to shelters and rescue groups as Facebook is. Just to be perfectly honest with you, if you're going to skip something, I think you can safely skip Twitter. But if you have someone on your team who's very enthusiastic about it, if you are in Silicon Valley or some other tech corridor where people are using Twitter a lot, definitely it's worth your time. It's also worth your time if you're trying to to make connections with journalists. Studies have shown that journalists much prefer being reached through Twitter than they do through other means of other social media channels, and they hate being reached out to through Facebook. But I have had great luck. I'm also a pet writer and actually do other kinds of writing besides just pets. And I've had great luck getting through to people through Twitter simply by sending them a tweet, not a direct message, but a tweet, just publicly tweeting to them, And if you have somebody in your community, you want them to give coverage to your adoption event or help spread the word about a pet, it's absolutely good etiquette as long as you don't, hammer at them to add their Twitter handle to your tweet and say, so-and-so, take a look at this fantastic pet or help us get the word out about our free pet adoptions, on the 4th of July weekend. So for those things, Twitter is very valuable, but if you're looking to triage your social media time, it's not essential. A new tool, Allison, if you want to go to the next step, a new tool, Pinterest. I am a huge, huge fan of Pinterest personally, but I especially think it's very valuable for shelter pets because Pinterest, for those of you who don't use it, is essentially somewhere where you pin, where you share pictures from websites. It's very, very easy. If you go to the Shelter Pet Project website, which is the shelterpetproject.org, you can see that on every single pet's page, there's a little button that says Pin It, and you just click on that, and it will immediately, if you're logged into your Pinterest account, it will immediately launch a page that lets you share that photo, and that photo will be a link to the website of that pet. And this slide is just an absolutely adorable dog whose picture I saw on Facebook, and she had her own website and her own Facebook page. I mean, the shelter or rescue group who has this little dog is doing a fantastic job of marketing her. And I shared her on the Shelter Pet Project's Pinterest board for dogs with awesome ears, because you can see that she has really amazing little ears there. And the Dogs with Amazing Ears board for the Shelter Pet Project is one of our most followed boards on Pinterest because it gives you the opportunity to pick cute little things about animals. I'm pretty sure, it's Pet Finder's Pinterest board has one for tongues, dogs with really cool or big tongues. And you could do it for anything, black cats, senior pets, tripods, blind pets, anything, and really draw an enormous amount of engagement. Pinterest is not about writing stories. It's about photos. The less you say, the better. I mean, sometimes all I say is, what a sweetie, she's in Texas. I mean, you don't want to write a long story on a Pinterest share. You just want to find a really great photo, which reinforces to me that however much it kills me as a writer, that photos are where it's at in social media. And just to beseech you all, again, I guess this is the second thing, if you take away nothing else, please, please, please try and get photos like this for your pets because they drive social media to a huge extent. Cute pet photos are so powerful. And I did a very informal survey of users of the Shelter Pet Project Facebook page, and I asked them which moved them more, stories or photos. And they all want a little bit of information about the pet, just enough. But photos, 80% of them were more motivated by the photo than they were by the words. So, please keep that in mind. If you could just jump ahead, Allison. Another resource that you'll find in the resources area and on the Maddie's Fund website is a link to Nonprofit Tech 2.0, which is a blog aimed at helping nonprofits use social media. It's one of the resources I recommend. They have a fantastic article there called How to Get Your Nonprofit Started on Pinterest, and the link to that is in your resources. The next thing, Allison, next slide, is YouTube. I call it a homeless pet's best friend, and this particular page, this is a YouTube channel that I've shown you here, is from Rockwall Shelter, which I think is in Texas. And this is a particularly terrific YouTube channel for adoptable pets. They have some lovely, lovely videos here. And with, every phone now practically being able to take a video, there's really no reason to not put videos of your pets up onto YouTube. And it's a fantastic opportunity to share them in a really dynamic way that appeals to a lot of people. You can share these videos on Facebook. They get preferentially shown on Google+, which we'll be talking about in a second because obviously Google owns YouTube. And they're also, when you share them on Pinterest, Pinterest turns them into videos. They're not just links or still images. They're actually the video right there on Pinterest. So next slide, Allison. YouTube also has a fantastic program for nonprofits. They provide nonprofit or qualifying nonprofit organizations with all the tools and capability of their paid channels that they make available to companies that want to buy better tools, more potential for branding or changing the way your page looks. And they provide enormous amounts of support. They have all kinds of information on how to get more out of your YouTube presence when you're a nonprofit. So the link to the YouTube for Nonprofits resources, again, it's in your resource list. It will be on the Maddie's Fund website. And I really encourage you with shelters and rescue groups to look into maximizing what you can do with YouTube because in addition to simply the traffic you will get on YouTube for your pets, YouTube itself is highly shareable through all the other social channels, probably not as effective through Twitter, but Google+, Facebook, and Pinterest, and several others. It's a fantastic opportunity for you. Next slide, Allison. Jumping ahead to Google+. At this time, my recommendation is that all organizations that have a website have a Google+ presence. I'm not going to get into a great deal of detail on it because the only reason right now that you need to be on Google+ is because Google, which is trying to own the world along with Facebook, they're competing, gives preferential search engine results to websites that have a Google+ presence. At this time, it's enough to just have a Google+ profile. You can go to google.com and sign up for an account if you're not sure what I mean by a Google+ profile. It's very similar to Facebook. They also have a nonprofit program, but it's not really right now. There's nothing really happening on Google+. So I am not telling you to spend a lot of time on Google+, maybe make one post a week. But please go create a Google+ profile and put your organization on it and put the URL of your organization into it so that when people search on your organization, which believe me they do, when I go to adopt a pet, I Google the name of the shelter or rescue group because I want to know what people are saying about them. And, that's what people do when they're checking things out. So you want to come up high in the search results. And you will come up higher if you're on Google+. It's one of the ways that they are motivating people to use the service. I personally love Google+ for myself, but I just don't really see it being a big thing for shelters and rescue groups at this time. So if you don't have a website, it's probably not something you need to worry about. You should have a website, by the way. Okay, so the next thing is talking about the specific things to promote an adoption event and how to use adoption events to, in turn, promote your organization and your adoptable pets. And this webcast actually grew out of some work that I've been doing for the last couple of years for Maddie's Fund's Matchmaker Adopt-a-thon, which is held every June. And for the last 2 years, it's been almost every shelter and rescue group in Alameda and Contra Costa counties. Last year, I believe we found homes in a single weekend for, was it 2,700 pets, Allison?
Yeah, it was over 2,700. And I'll just qualify that that's in California.
Yes, sorry, everybody. And this year, for the first time, San Francisco is also going to be included in that, and we're extremely excited to see what kind of numbers we can pull together for this huge weekend of adoptions. So I noticed that some groups were doing a great job of their social media, and other groups were doing less, and some groups were doing nothing at all. And I started putting together tips and best practices, and that's what this website actually, this webcast rather, grew out of. So one of the things, okay, we can go to the next slide, Allison, that we can talk a little bit about is what the purpose of using social media for your adoption events of. The first is the most obvious traditional PR use, which is building buzz and getting people to the event. You want to get people talking about it and make people aware of it. You want to start teasing your audience on Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, if you have photos, to drive them to a central place, whether it's your website, your blog, or if nothing else, the Maddie's Adopt-a-thon or whatever website exists for the overall adoption event. And you want to start building up excitement for the upcoming event. So this is very traditional PR. It's the same kind of thing that you will always have done, but it's easier. You'll do it with a little lighter hand. You'll send out maybe, I would say, I think you would probably be safe to post about it 2 to 3 times a week in the weeks leading up. Try and mix it up and make it be a little bit different, sometimes a link, sometimes a photo, sometimes just a plain status update, to try and start building excitement for the event. And I like to be just a little bit intriguing, so you might not necessarily just want it to be a straightforward, come to our adoption event on the 4th of July weekend, but, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, help pets enjoy life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, find out more, link. You don't necessarily want to use social media the way you would write a press release. You want it to be fun and light. And then, as I said, if you're using Facebook, go back into your insights, see what's working, what are people clicking on and sharing the most. Try not to bore them. But that's the building up excitement for the event phase, where you're asking your followers to attend your event. But beyond that, you should also very explicitly ask them to share your event. Don't be shy to ask your followers to help you publicize something through social media. On Twitter, you might start your tweet out with, please RT. And RT is when you're asking someone to retweet your tweet. And it's amazing to me how rarely we overtly ask our followers to do something for us, but they love to help us. That's why they liked your page or followed you on Twitter. They want to be part of your support team. So say to them, we would really appreciate it if you would share this event with your friends and family who are in the area. We would love to see all of, the people that you know at this event. If you know anyone who's looking for a pet or who just wants to get involved with our shelter or who might be considering being a foster, please share this post. You'll be amazed at how many more people will share just because you asked them to. So don't hesitate to ask them to help you spread the word. Now I'm going to very briefly touch on Facebook ads. I want to tell you that I am not an expert. First of all, I don't work in advertising. I am not an expert in Facebook ads, although I have used them. There are people out there who know a lot more about this than I do, and what I'm about to tell you really only applies to promoting adoption events. Okay? This is not necessarily good advice for getting donations or volunteers or getting people to turn out for a political event or getting people to like your Facebook page or people to go to your website. This is only a tiny little sliver of advice based on my experience on how a very small investment of money, because this will cost you money, on the part of your organization could result in your event being exposed to thousands of people in your immediate area who are targeted by their interests. So Allison, can you jump to the next page, please?
We got it.
The URL that you would use to get to creating a Facebook ad is in your resources. You have to have a Facebook profile and you will have to have a credit card. When you go there, you will see this page that will start asking you what it is that you want to advertise. And this is where I'm going to just talk to you really quickly. I would like you to, if you decide to try this out, don't worry so much. I mean, it should definitely link to your website or your blog or wherever you have information about the event you're going to be in. But I'm going to tell you how to create an ad that even if people don't click on it, will give you benefit. And that's really the optimal way for adoption events to use Facebook ads, because ads that are sold by how many people see them are much cheaper than ads that are sold by how many people click on them. And you don't really need people to click on the ad. It's great if they do, but you don't actually need them to. What you want to do is select a website that will a place for the ad to link to that will get them in for more information if they want it, but make sure that the copy that you write for your ad, and this system walks you through it so carefully, so step by step, it's very easy to do, will contain all the information that they need. Allison, can I have the next slide?
Yeah, we've got this wonderful picture of one of our happy adopters.
That you took.
I don't know about that.
This is a little ad that I just made up for Maddie's Pet Adopt-a-thon, and you can see I'm really at a disadvantage here because, of course, I can't see it anymore, but I think it says something about pets are priceless, so this weekend your adoption fee is free. And
exactly
come
right.
see us at the Stone Ridge Mall or whatever it says, something
right.
like that. So
very catchy.
So, and feel free to steal anything of mine that you want to promote your adoption event. It's very important when you choose your photo for your ad that it be a photo like this. And Allison, would you go to the next page slide?
Coming up.
Or like this. What you want are not pictures where the background is white. They've done research and people are much more inclined to respond well to an ad that is looks like a non-professional but still very clear and tight and nicely composed, but a non-professional photograph. A snapshot, if you will. And in this case, of course, we're using the power of cute dogs. And in the case of the lower right-hand corner, the power of celebrity. That's former Oakland Raider Jared Cooper with his tattoos and a super cute pit bull. These are, and the woman in the upper left has this big smile, and her dog is smiling just the same way. And of course, there's nothing like a manly man cuddling a puppy. These are fantastic images, along with the cute one on the previous slide. Use something like this. These are all from the Maddie's Adopt-a-thon from previous years, and so when you choose your photo, don't use a stock photo. Use something you really have. Find the best photo you can showing a happy person and a pet together. Allison, can you jump ahead?
Here we go.
And, wow, I have no idea what's on here. Oh, this is about targeting. Okay. This is where you're going to select pay per impression instead of pay per click. Again, this is only for adoption events. For everything else, this is terrible advice, but here it's fine. Just make sure your ad includes all the information people need to get to your event. You will select when it runs. You will select who will see it. You should narrow down your targeting to your zip code, your immediate area, whatever area you're trying to draw adopters from. You should narrow it to that. And you can also choose to target it. And I want you to be thinking as you select your audience, I want you to be sure that you think in terms of those 17 million people, not just your 5 million hardcore dedicated adopters. think about the 17 million people and try and do your targeting to appeal to them. If you are from lab rescue, then I would really encourage you to target people who are interested in hiking and outdoor activities. And if you are a rescue with a lot of adult cats, maybe be looking at targeting by age to senior citizens. Look for people who are interested in activities that seem like they would go hand in hand with someone who would have the right kind of home for the pets you're trying to find a home for. So using the targeting information which Facebook offers you, it allows you to be as broad as you want. You can pick people who like dogs, people who like cats, people who have kids, or get really specific and pick people who like to knit or can or garden or do yoga. Really be creative and watch how every time you select an interest or a demographic group, it will change the amount of money that Facebook suggests you bid for your ad. And you should be comfortable with the amount. You can cap it. So if you only want to spend $50, you can say, I will bid this 36 cents per 1,000 people who see my ad, and I'm capping my campaign at $50, and I want it to start running on this date. Then you will need to go back as soon as it starts running and see if it is in fact being shown to people, because Facebook is going to give preferential treatment to ads that bid more money. You may need to increase your per 1,000 people bid, and Facebook will give you a range and a suggested bid. You can take their suggested bid to start. You can also increase it. You can also play with your targeting and see, but don't just sign up for it and then walk away. You have to go back and make sure it's actually being viewed and see. Don't worry too much about how many people are clicking on it, because again, this particular use, we're not that concerned about how many people click. I'm going to stop now. I'm not going to answer any questions about Facebook ads tonight. Again, I'm not an expert. There are people who are, and there's some resources in your resource list that will help you if you decide this is something you want to dig into. But I really do encourage shelters and rescue groups to consider some targeted local Facebook advertising to try and drive attendance at your adoption events. The next thing, Allison, we can go to another slide. The next thing that you should be looking at when it comes to using social media for adoption events, especially recurring adoption events like the Maddie's Adopt-a-thon, is social documentation. In other words, sharing the event with people as it's happening. I do this on the Maddie's Adopt-a-thon Facebook page. It's extremely popular, lots of fun. We get huge engagement over the weekend the Adopt-a-thon is going on. People come, they report how many pets they've adopted, they share pictures. Adopters come and ask us, where can I find a German Shepherd? Where's the nearest location to me? It's fantastic. It's exciting. I really strongly recommend, if you have someone on your team who can provide, as it happens, coverage of your adoption events, you should do it, not just for the value that it provides to you for the moment, but for using in the future as social capital, which I'll get to in a second. The ways you can do this are live blogging, which you can do on any blog, which is where you have somebody just providing real-time updates as to what's going on. It's lots of fun. I loved hearing from shelters. They would get there at 6 o'clock in the morning to start setting up, and there were already people standing in line waiting to get in. I mean, it just creates huge excitement. It's very rewarding for your volunteers, and it brings more people in who see it, who go to your website and see that you're already having this great time. One shelter had baked cupcakes, and they were putting up pictures of their cupcakes, and there's just a lot of really fun things that you can share, and of course your happy matches that are made between adopters and pets, and especially tell the story. Last year we had total social dynamite with a little cat with, or with a dog, I can't even remember, who had health problems and was extremely old and got adopted by a nurse. And people just loved that little story. It was fantastic. So really definitely look to You Are There with a live blog. Twitter, you can do live tweeting of events. That's always lots of fun. You might want to do a count of how many people are adopting or who went home. just little as it happens messages that can be done from your mobile phone. It's really easy, not time intensive. Just make sure you assign someone from your organization who'd be in charge of it. Pinterest, again, it's photo sharing. It's fast. It's easy. You can do it from your phone. I would definitely tell people in advance that you're planning on documenting your event live on your Pinterest board, and use your other social channels, Facebook, Twitter, to let people know it's happening. YouTube is usually something that you would share after the fact, so think about making sure that you get some videos of your event. It's probably not as great for live documentation because of the time to upload a video, but you can take a video on your phone and upload it. Lots of people were doing that during the Adopt-a-thon the last couple of years, but it's possibly more useful for after the event. The pros and cons of using Facebook, if you run the risk when you use it the way we use it on the Maddie's Adopt-a-thon page. A lot of the people, they are coming to the page. It's a destination, but the posts are probably not appearing in people's feeds because we're posting too frequently. Facebook will collapse your posts in the feed. They will say things like, this post and 25 others from Maddie's Adopt-a-thon. You will get a problem when you create a page, especially for an event, because it's seasonal, and when there's no activity the rest of the year, Facebook will disadvantage your posts in people's feeds. So although it's great to use a Facebook page about an event, if it is a dedicated Facebook page, you are going to need to promote it just like you would promote a Pinterest board or something else, because otherwise you're going to find that people aren't going to see it. So Facebook may not be the best place for live sharing an event as it happens. Allison, can you jump ahead?
And I see our founder, Dave Duffield.
Yes, that is Maddie's Fund founder, David Duffield, at the Adopt-a-thon last year. And this is where I want to talk a little bit about social capital, which is the actual assets that you create, photos, videos, stories, blog posts that you should be using throughout the year to reinforce your message of pet adoption, to really get into building excitement for any adoption events throughout the year. It doesn't have to be this one again, or even just individual adoptions. You should definitely take advantage of adoption events to build a library of video footage and photographs and stories that you can use to share your message on Facebook and all other social channels, and really use it to build excitement for and interest in your cause. So definitely don't waste the social capital that you're going to be developing here. And this is the video that Allison actually created for us at Maddie's Fund, recapping last year's Adopt-a-thon. So if you go to the Maddie's Fund YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/Maddie's Fund, you can view the Adopt-a-thon videos and see what Allison put together for us. And most of these editing, even though Allison is a perfectionist and does a really super job making them pretty.
We got a lot of help from our volunteers, and they did some fantastic work, and that's where you can all ask your own volunteers to go out and use their iPhones or whatever and capture some great video.
But even for the editing, which I know some people don't, they know how to shoot a video and upload it to YouTube, but they don't know how to edit. You don't have to edit it. You really don't. You can include everything. Just put the video, say, talk in the video so that people know what they're looking at. Because I really want you to understand that social media does not require always the level of perfection that Allison is determined that we're going to have, it can be rough because people like the feeling that they're really there. But if you have the resources of volunteer software, if you can talk Allison into doing it for you, you will definitely get a lot of mileage out of videos like this, and not just videos, but photo albums, whether it's on Flickr, a dedicated board on Pinterest, a photo album on Facebook. I really encourage you to consider all adoption events as a place to go to create images, stories, and memories that you will share through social media to create happiness and excitement and anticipation of people for bringing a new pet into their family. I have to apologize. Somebody asked before this began. This is almost my last slide.
Yeah, I think, Christy, we have about 10 more minutes, and I know that there's some questions lined up here.
Well, this is a question, and I had meant to talk to you a little bit about, this is one of the questions people asked before we began, which was the difference between a Facebook page and a Facebook group. And I promise this is going to take me 60 seconds. Facebook used to have groups. They're gone. They have a new thing they call a group. It is a little bit different, but it's actually a perfect place for rescue networking to take place, because one of the problems is that rescue networks have to tell, if we don't get this pet out tonight, they're going to die. And those messages, when they get into the eyeballs of the 17 million undecided adopters, freak them out because they're negative messages, but rescuers need to know. So one of the things that I was going to suggest, this isn't really about pet adoption, but if you have a driving need to network about rescue pulls, consider creating a Facebook group, because only the members of the group see it and the post can't be shared beyond the group. So that is a possible resource that you could do to kind of get away from the danger of necessary negative messaging being seen by people for whom it will act as a disincentive to adopt. This is my contact information. You can email me with any questions you have. You can also come to my Facebook page, contact me on Twitter. I've got my Pinterest boards up there where I have some boards on good and not so good pet adoption ads. Examples thereof. And on Google+, you can also contact me. Google+ doesn't have nice, pretty URLs, so I made a little temporary fake one there that works. And all this information is in your resources, and it will be on the Maddie's Fund website as well. So, Allison,
don't worry about copying it all down, because you can download that through the widgets, and I know it's kind of tiny print and everything. But why don't we go to some audience questions?
Let's see. Allison, I'm going to need you to put I wish this was working for me.
Well, I think we had one of our other technical people helping here. They were going to push one of the questions to you. But let me just see here. I'm going to try and click on the tab.
I'm going to just go ahead and go through these. I'm going to answer number 147. Our Facebook page automatically feeds status updates to our Twitter account. Do you feel this is a good approach to using Twitter? No. Twitter and Facebook are completely different, and I am totally against, as are many, many people in social media, ever automating one to the other. It can work for some organizations. I know some organizations that have been doing it for a long time, and they get good results from it. But as a general best practice, your posts that you write for Twitter should be for Twitter, and posts for Facebook should be for Facebook, and they're really very different in format, length, purpose. I'm really not a fan of doing that. When you say you need a website, is being on petfinder.com enough, or do you need your own website? You can use your petfinder.com viewing all our adoptable pets, I believe they call it. Or I guess each group on PetFinder has sort of a page. If that's what you have, that's fine.
We have a question up here. It says our Facebook page automatically feeds status.
Yeah, I already answered that.
You did that? Okay.
And then I just answered 141, and then 132.
Here's
okay. Mike Arms suggested not.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think Mike Arms from the Helen Woodward Animal Center suggested not stating the length of time a long-time homeless animal is at the shelter because of the negative connotation. Is this correct? It can be. I have seen it used to good advantage. I have seen it more often to make people think there's something wrong with the pet or to feel guilt-tripped. If you can do it well, you can break every rule there is. It's like art or anything else. If you really know what you're doing, there are no rules. But the problem is it can be hazardous. However, there are people who are very intrigued as to what makes a pet more and less adoptable. And sometimes when I feature them on the Shelter Pet Project, if you can make it sweet or endearing or funny and make sure you avoid negative things about the pet or anything that's guilt-trippy, you can do it. But in most cases, I agree with Mike. I think that it's very rare that it works out well for people to get that message. So give me another question.
Hang on just a minute.
Mm-hmm.
How do you not post the sad part when you're trying to raise funds for a starved, looks like homeless dog, or HIV dog, HIV
positive
dog. Yeah,
heartworm.
right.
Heartworm.
Heartworm, right.
Yeah.
That you need money to treat. The questioner understands posting positive.
Okay, this is a question about raising funds. Sad stories do raise money, but they don't get people to adopt. And this goes back to when I said don't mix your messages. If you're trying to raise money, raise money. If you're trying to find a home for the pet, write about finding a home for the pet. If you can't mix them. You can't make one post to Facebook that raises money and looks to adopt the pet and asks rescue to pull them and educates people about good, responsible pet ownership and says how horrible the person is who dumped the pet and how terrible conditions are at your local shelter. And that is 80% of the posts I see about pets on Facebook. You have to stop doing that. If it's about raising money to pay the bills for the pet, by all means, make it sad. Because one of the things that people do to assuage their anxiety when they are exposed to these terrible stories is they give money. And if you need their money, by all means, ask for it. Now, you can also raise money by being positive, and if you want to see examples of that, I can't send you anywhere better than to Bonnie Brown at the Nevada Humane Society, who can take the most heart-rending, gut-ripping story of a pet in need and make you smile and feel inspired. So it can be done, but it doesn't have to be. If you're trying to raise money, get people crying, go for it. It works.
Hey, Christy, when you say you need a website,
I already answered this one, Allison.
Oh, excuse me. I'm sorry.
That's
They
okay.
sent me this one. I beg your pardon. I didn't mean to cut you off. One more question, and then I think we're out of time.
I think we can do two. Go ahead.
We can do two if we would just get it pushed towards us. A little more, I'm sorry, audience. Thank you for your patience while we have some technical difficulties. We're not able to see your questions, and we're trying to click that through.
Okay. Any suggestions on how to find social media volunteers? Is it okay to announce this need on your Facebook page, or is that tacky? I think that it's time to professionalize how we do social media, and I don't mean to hire people, but I would suggest that you reach out for people in your support network who actually are PR professionals or at least journalists, writers, really good bloggers, people who are very active in social media. It's the day of turning your social presence over to someone who's outside the main decision-making and policy-setting arena of your organization. They're over. You need to take this seriously, and I understand that you don't, I'm sure there are people here from shelters who have PR departments and PR budgets who have perhaps even hired outside PR. But if that's not you, please take it as seriously as possible. I do pro bono PR work for rescue group shelters and animal welfare organizations because I have been asked or because I have offered, and there are other people like me who will as well. So if you can ask for someone, ask for them to be an experienced professional or a very, very good amateur. Don't just take someone because they like to be on Facebook a lot. It's just not good enough anymore.
Well, our last question, our rescue organization specializes in special needs cats. Often, even with young cats or kittens, are shy and will take gentle and patient socialization in the new home. How do you promote the adoption of this animal without scaring adopters off?
You take a really great picture, which I know with shy kitties is hard and requires a great deal of patience, but it will pay off hugely. So take the time and focus on getting the best picture of that kitty, particularly of their eyes and their face, as you can. And then you can say something like, I'm just a sweet little shy thing, and then put little the little asterisks around something that indicates an action in internet speak, and say, flutters eyelashes or headbutts or whatever that animal really does, and that's enough. You don't need to tell the entire story of the animal. I often talk about the process of where we fall in love with somebody, right? Every human being on earth has flaws and things that will drive you crazy once you get to know the person, and weaknesses. But we fall in love all the time anyway. And we love our parents and our children and our siblings and our friends, even though they are full of flaws. It's the same thing with our pets. Our pets all have flaws too. And yet we love them. Give the person a chance to fall in love, because once they've fallen in love, then they will have a gentler interpretation of the challenges of that individual animal. And it may be that that's not the right pet for them, and you have charmed them into your clutches with a sweet little kitten and with big eyes and a shy personality. Well, I'm sure you have plenty of other pets that would be great for them. I'm not talking about deceiving people. I'm certainly not talking about hiding drawbacks of a pet or doing a rigorous screening. I'm simply saying, first, make them fall in love. And I
think that's the best way that we can end this. I'm afraid we're running all out of time here. And we want to thank Christy and all of you for your time here tonight.
I do just want to say that all the questions that I didn't get to will be answered. We're going to do a question and answer follow-up, and that'll be emailed to you all.
Right, and there's a link on your screen here. If you could take a moment to click on that, it takes you to a very brief survey about tonight's webcast, and if your responses are going to help us plan future webcasts, so we really appreciate your feedback. And don't worry if you can't see it or if it's blocked. We'll be sending it to you in an email later. We want to also invite you to sign up for our mailing list at www.maddiesinstitute.org, and you can follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/Maddie'sInstitute, and on Twitter at Maddie's Inst. That's the @ Maddie's INST. And we also hope you checked out the resources through the widgets at the bottom of your screen, but if not, we'll be emailing you those links too. And we'll be contacting the winners of our adoption vest sets. We'll also share a link to the archive version of tonight's webcast. Christy, thanks again, and thank all of you for being here this evening. Good night.